I want to take experimentation out of the authoritative ideas of what scientific practice is. You know, science is question-driven, and the more interesting the questions, the more compelling the results. The whole kind of moral authority of environmentalism has been centered around what you can't do. Turn off the lights, use less gas, use less paper, you know, wring your hands, do not touch, leave no trace, you know, in the ecotourism, you know. But what about what you can do? This is the model urban development for the birds, model in two senses, both in scale model, at bird scale, and model as an ideal, exploring ideals of how urban systems might function. It's part of the OOZE project, which is zoo backwards and without cages. There's several cameras that are motion triggered, and another camera that looks down systematically, sampling 2 seconds out of every 5 or 10 minutes to look at the larger systemic changes and to look at where the birds prefer to hang out. There's a kind of meta-diversity, many parameters simultaneously being compared. It's what you might call an uncontrolled experiment. One of the most plentiful resources is human food waste. So I used the anaerobic digest from the fast food McDonald's to fertilize this square, from the vegan restaurants to fertilize this one. And this one, there's a great little Greek restaurant, so it's half Greek and half Indonesian. So I'm comparing which of these food waste in which plants will thrive in this context, and with whether the birds have preferences. Wherever you see animals in urban or suburban, or even Yellowstone Park, the interface is really primarily a little sign that says, do not feed the animals. You don't want to interfere with their natural instincts and make them dependent on you, right? Which is only a thought that happens there, but not as you're driving up the freeway that cuts off their migration route, interfering with them completely. Not a thought that occurs when, you know, we understand we're changing the entire global climate. Tell me, why don't birds like cranberries? What is wrong with cranberries? Cranberries are delicious, don't they know that? These water recycling things, one is medicated with an antibacterial agent against trichomatosis, which is one of the big killers of urban birds. Another one is for self-medication with alcohol. It's a vodka solution in there. Another one has a muscle relaxant, and the other one is just New York City water. So they get to choose, and I get to see which ones the birds prefer, and will they self-medicate. In front of that is Butterfly City. We learn a little bit about the birds and the bees from this, because the bees also like this area. Behind that is my wedding dress and some other seasonal clothes. There's several books on garbage, biodegrading over there, and a few copies of my dissertation as well. Literature is cellulose. Nature is not something out there, that it's something we are living in and with and through. And I think the clarion call of the avian flu, or its looming threat, is that in fact the best protection against the avian flu is biodiversity. Can you design for diversity? Can you support the diverse bird population that does inhabit the area or pass through? And I think it's worth considering that New York was the New York of birds before it was that of humans. Around the sides you can see the architect-designed bird houses, including this one, the baby pink one, is designed for the kestrels that live in the area. That's a 4-family unit built of cardboard. It's got a felt on the inside, laser cut and quickly assembled. You know, in contrast, the white thing over there is actually Frank Gehry's only New York building. The architects that were invited to develop bird housing actually are all exploring really interesting material, mechanical, biodegradable, formal concerns that are actually addressing a more complex understanding of the urban ecology, rather than just the kind of production of architecture as icon or as trophy. This next one takes on the familiar form of the egg to explore whether birds will inhabit it or be attracted by the kind of nostalgia that drives much of human housing. In this square here, it's my recent electronic purchases. And the cell phone that I had there, my old cell phone, I lost my cell phone. So after my cell phone had been here degrading for a month, I took it out and put a new SIM card in it, and it was working fine. So I have to thank Nokia for their biodegradably resistant cell phones. What we're now seeing, particularly in the last 8 years, is the movement of animals formerly known as wild into the urban centres. So we had an elk in Westchester County a couple of weeks ago. Over and again we're seeing animals moving into the cities. And why? Well, obviously because of the loss of viable habitat elsewhere, but also, and I think hearteningly, because they're more habitable, because the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act have really reduced the PCB levels in the Hudson River. And frankly, I believe that more now that the seals have moved in and hang out there and have done so now for several years than an EPA press release. The whole process of urbanization is the production of leisure. So what do they do for fun, right? They've got everything, all their needs catered to. So here is a Ferris wheel, which is one of the amenities that we provide for the birds. And when the birds land on it, you see, and they do a full cycle, it triggers open this little gate where then the food slides down. They seem to enjoy it. The focus is about here. Hello. Birds can use that to amplify their voices to perform. Children are fascinated with the natural world. There's geese. Geese! Geese! Oh, geese! How exciting, right? Suddenly you rediscover the excitement of a goose, right? And it's wonderful. Yeah. We're not in the age of, interactive technologies, but poised with the opportunity to structure participation for effective collective action. And that's what makes me optimistic.